What's going on, Wolfpack Nation? Welcome to another episode of Tuffy Talk, y'all. And I do gotta say that it is never a bad time to talk about NC State football, y'all. That there, we just got off the live stream just this past Monday talking about how there's never been a better time to be an NC State fan, and obviously talking about all the amazing sports that we have going on right now that are competing at the ACC level. But obviously all the fans are just buzzing right now for NC State football. So we figured, hey, what a better way to talk a little bit NC State football to bringing on a friend of the podcast here, Richard Washington, former NC State wide receiver and one of the biggest commits in terms of recruiting grade in NC State history. Richard, appreciate you coming on again, my man.
Absolutely, man. I'm happy. I'm happy to keep that role too, man. As the top wide receiver ever at NC State.
Let's go recruiting wise. So
absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, Richard. So obviously the main thing of this episode, and we'll kind of get to it, is during our interview, one of the things that you had said was, man, we got to step up with recruiting. We got to get the big guys, and I mean, we'll get to it, but I mean, I think we got the big guys. Would you agree with that? Yeah. No, I think we finally did some work in the transfer portal. We got some big guys that we'll definitely talk about here. But I know that when we had you on the last time, we definitely, it was way before that amazing last stretch of games that we had.
Yeah,
so
sure.
So I want to kind of get your thoughts first and foremost, man. Like from being a former player, from being a NC State former NC State player, give us your thoughts. I mean, about the turnaround that we saw coming out of that bye week. Just what's your initial thoughts?
I thought we were going downhill for a minute, man.
Yeah.
It was bad. It was bad. They were talking about firing Dave Dorn and my buddy Freddie Archer-Lindsey, my teammate. He's on the staff, so I'm like, I don't want him to get fired either. But it was going downhill, but we turned it around for some reason, man. I don't know if we got our ass beat that bad that game, and we needed that. We probably that's what we needed, but after that, man, it's like a light switched, and like we just start like clicking on all cylinders. Like we start incorporating Brennan Armstrong into the offense. Like we started what's his name?
Well,
the quarterback that went to Maryland.
MJ.
Oh, MJ.
MJ. We started MJ, and he kind of gave us a little spark, so it was kind of needed. But then we started incorporating Armstrong into the offense, and man, it just started like clicking. And the receivers, Rozier, the senior, he caught a pass in the end zone. I don't know what game it was, and it was like he started the momentum, and the running back, the young running back started running. The Mims started getting into the end zone.
Yep.
And the defense, Wilson, he was always amazing, but everyone started clicking, man. And it was amazing, like to see that camaraderie, like, at that moment, which we needed towards the end of the season.
Yeah.
So it was pretty good, man, to see it, because I thought we were going downhill for a moment, but we turned it up a little notch. So that's what we needed, for sure.
Yeah, I know we talked a lot about it, both while it was happening and then after, about, that Duke game did not go well. NC State only put up 3 points offensively. And then went into a bye week, and we said at the time, this is kind of make or break. Are we going downhill? Is this kind of it? Is this the ceiling for this season, or is there room to turn around? And obviously we did turn it around and ended up winning out. But what on the offensive side specifically do you think allowed NC State to kind of find their rhythm and be successful in the second half of the season?
Honestly, I really think it was Brennan Armstrong. And of course, KC, he was the man. He's the man. Of course, getting him the ball majority as possible is always helpful. But I think Brennan running the ball was like really helpful for us in the running game, and he was getting in the end zone. He was getting a lot of yards for us. But, it was hurting us towards some games where we ran him too much. But it was a big plus for us, man. And now, I don't know. Now, I don't want to get into it early, but now we have plenty of weapons, man. We have a lot of them now. It's like good and the bad thing to happen, but we'll get into it. But I just think that Brennan, he really brought us along with his senior leadership and everything. That was really helpful for us, and getting the offensive coordinator, him on the same page as I. And that was really a big plus for us toward the end of the season, and I think we needed that big time for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
No, again, it's just, and in my opinion, we've said it, but I think that without a doubt that 2023 was Doran's best coaching job ever, like no doubt about it.
Yeah.
And I mean, but again, I mean, I can't necessarily give it all to him. I mean, Peyton Wilson, his leadership, no doubt, had a lot to do with it. Brennan Armstrong, no doubt. I mean, the fact that, and again, I mean, let's talk a little bit about him again. Being a former player, like how, Brennan got told, like, we're going to look to MJ, and he told the players, I want you guys to play hard for MJ, and then his willingness to come in a few plays, his willingness in his final year, and his willingness to get asked, okay, you know what, now we need you once again, and he stepped up in the biggest way. And in today's world of NIL and the way college football is, you don't see that much anymore. You don't see that kind of character. And
Absolutely.
It was awesome to see.
Absolutely, and we needed that, man. Like, because it could have went the other way, man. And who knows, like. Boo probably, who knows? He probably would have fired Dave Doeren if we would have just lost every game, like every last one, like all the 4 or 5 games we had left. That would have been terrible.
Yeah.
So who knows? But I'm glad it went the way it did, because Dave's a good coach. He's recruiting good players and good class guys. So like we need him around. I absolutely think we need him around, and I really think we're gonna get over the hump soon.
That's right. No, well, and let's get right into it here. Is again, obviously, Doeren did his best off-season job ever with retaining every single assistant coach, which is something you don't see in today's college football either. And also too with the transfer portal. I mean, getting a top 10 transfer portal recruiting class in the country. It just did a phenomenal job. So, really kind of the purpose of this for, all of our viewers and listeners here is I really wanted to bring on Richard, as again, he made that comment saying we need to step it up. And since we really did hit it hard with a lot of wide receivers, I think arguably this could be one of the best wide receiver rooms in NC State history, man.
I think so.
Yeah. I mean,
it has that potential. It really has that potential. Like, and I wrote down my list. I have a list right here, and the list is full. I'm like, we have a good and a bad problem right now. Like, this is the first time I ever think I said this. Like, we have a good and a bad problem. Seriously, we really do. And with the game today, with the NIL, like you were saying, it's hard because like I wish all these guys would stay, because some of these guys are not going to get like the amount of touches they want, but we need them, and they're young and, they're good. So, it's going to be tough trying to get everybody the ball, man. Like with these names and these like potential we have, it's going to be tough.
Yeah, we've talked about that in this off season. It's like we don't have the problem of, who's going to get this job. We have the problem of there's too many talented guys who we could turn to. And I guess that's a nice problem to have. Someone gets hurt, things happen. Someone's not necessarily playing in a way that works for our team. We have other people to turn to. But who, wide receiver wise, are you particularly excited about?
Of course, KC. But listen, it's a couple. Anderson for sure. Terrell Anderson for sure.
Really?
Jonathan Paylor. He's explosive. But I don't know if we're going to put him at running back or receiver. I don't know. I don't know yet. Yeah. Because he can play a different variety of positions. He came in as an athlete, but because I seen him on film as a running back, and he's just as good as he is a wide receiver. So you never know. Jameer Boston, you never know about him. He's a low 3-star guy. He wasn't a high 4-star guy like the other guys. Zachary, the Zachary kid, I heard a lot about him. Who else I got on this? We got, of course, a transfer with Rogers. He's going to be big time. He's been acclimated with an Ohio State system, so he's been around the program to know like how to run routes, how to be disciplined, how to get ready for the games and stuff. So that's going to be important. He should have came to NC State from the get-go, but that's another day for another day.
Yeah.
We got Grimes coming in. We got Collins still around, Dakari Collins. Like, he was a high 4-star. He can take the next step, and he can be a really big prospect for us. Julian Gray, of course he could take the top off the defense. And it's like, how many
Yeah.
options do we have? I even have Dylan Smothers on my list. He
Yeah.
was big time. So like it's like plus Jordan Waters for the running back from Duke that came along. Not even to think about Grayson McCall, it's like how many options do we have? It's like
Right.
never had this many options like before. So it's like, how does Robert Anae does this? How does he incorporate with everybody getting the ball, like, on every given Saturday, make everybody happy, because, some guys will get 6 touches one game and 1 touch the next game. So like, and they're young, so we get it, but it's going to be a lot, man. Even the running back that I think is a sleeper, Jaden Scott, I really like his film, even him coming along, because we need running back depth at that position, So it's like all of these guys have potential to be great, and, we have the coaching staff to make it happen.
Before we continue, I want to take a quick second to tell you about our sponsor, Flatlands Jessup Insurance Group, that has your whole world covered, with agents in 5 offices throughout eastern North Carolina to help you decide how much coverage you need. Offering policies for home and auto, recreational vehicles, commercial, crop, health, life, and employee benefits. They are able to combine options to find a comprehensive solution that works for you. Flatlands Jessup protects the things you love so you can spend less time worrying and more time enjoying them. Find them on Facebook and Instagram at Flatlands Jessup. You can also visit their webpage at www.flatlandsjessup.com. So please make sure to go and check them out. So let's start to talk about some of these guys. So one guy in particular that I think that everybody's the most excited about, and a guy that you just said should have come to N-State from the get-go. Could you possibly make the argument that in the long term, Noah Rogers going to Ohio State might actually turn out better than if he had come to State, just because he had an opportunity to grow. He has an opportunity to learn from some of the best wide receiver prospects in the country. Obviously Marvin Harrison Jr.
Absolutely.
Learn a little bit from, the wide receiver of college football, and, and then come back to NC State. Because I think that last year, with the situation we were in, he would have gotten thrown in. I mean, he definitely would have played a lot, which could be good, but we don't know. Not every single prospect is going to be Kevin Concepcion that can come right in and be effective, from day one. So, I mean,
but what if?
What if? I know.
Just like even better than KC. Like, just imagine that. Like, oh my gosh, like the season we could have had. But but he's here now, and that's the only thing that matters. And he's where he needs to be, But hey, at the same time, we'll take care of him. He's going to be in the room with a lot of great young talent, man. So it's like, hopefully these guys can work together and stay together. Not if they're not getting the ball, they're not in the depth chart, the 4th, 5th receiver. Just work hard, because back then when we had, it wasn't a transfer portal. We had to wait it out, We had to wait behind Jericho Cotry and the guys. We had to wait behind Brian Peterson. I had to wait. So it's so it was a thing. But hopefully these guys can wait around and, wait their turn, and hopefully they, we all can contribute to something simpler.
But kind of talk to me a little bit about Rogers in terms of, have you been able to watch any of his highlights or anything like that?
No, not really, man. Not really. Okay. Not much.
You got to.
Even in practice. But I want to see some of his film at Ohio State. I want to see how much he matured along as a freshman. Because that's what I really want to see. And, nowadays, now since spring, you don't get to see them. They're not running routes. They're just working out and stuff. So it's hard to get a good grasp on what he's like. What is he really like? Is he really good like everybody says? So I really want to see myself.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see, especially because, like Leighton said, he's coming from one of these top universities, We can say, oh, he should have been at State all along, but playing behind guys at Ohio State for a year and kind of seeing that environment, it'll be interesting to see what he does here. And we were talking about semi-local guys who, maybe should have come to State to begin with. And I know another person that people are excited about is Wesley Grimes. He's a Raleigh native, went to Millbrook High School, and is now transferring from Wake Forest. What have you seen from him, and how do you think he's going to fit in?
He's going to actually fit good. He's played in the ACC already, so that's a plus already.
Exactly.
He knows how to beat defenses. He knows how to go through the depth chart and read what cornerbacks, read tendencies. He knows all those things, so that's a big plus for us,
For sure.
especially with Grayson McCall at quarterback. Having him as a veteran leader, that's the biggest thing, like what you need in college football, I think. Having a quarterback that's a veteran, that's been through blitzes, been through all kinds of defenses, that's a really huge plus, man. And I think that's going to help us a lot along the season. Like it was with Brennan. Grayson's going to bring that because he can run a little bit, he can pass a lot. So, and another thing with Bailey, Cedric Bailey, he's really going to take a liking to Grayson along the way. Long as he's learning the concept of college football, he'll be fine. I just think he just has to learn a lot more, and you never know. He might have to get thrown in the fire where we need him.
Yeah. Well, and one of the biggest questions when the news came out that Grayson McCall was committed was, is this just going to be our thing? You go from one, graduate, transfer, quarterback to the next, and kind of my answer is it kind of depends on your options, but
Yeah.
with a guy like Grayson McCall with his experience with his dual threat capabilities,
Mm-hmm.
he's just a perfect he's a perfect quarterback for a nice system. Now,
Absolutely.
I think ideally you would love to have a guy that can be at NC State for 2 or 3 years, but there's just not really those guys out there that are within our budget. AKA, like you could have
Mm-hmm.
gone after the Oregon transfer, who was
Mm-hmm.
the backup, but
Yep.
you got to pay him a lot of money, and you're
Yep.
not necessarily sure what you're going to get from him. Or you go
Right.
after the guy from Marshall.
Yep.
He's a guy that he could play 2 years, but can he play at ACC caliber college football playoff level?
Absolutely.
We don't know. But Grayson McCall, he's a 3-time conference player of the year.
Yep.
He
Mm-hmm.
has all the records, at Coastal Carolina. He's played in big games, so you feel very, very confident in what he, can offer. But I mean, would you kind of agree with my take? It just kind of depends on the situation, or do you think the next guy needs to be a 2 or
I'm
3 year
iffy
guy?
about that, man. Cause I don't know if I really like. It's a plus because they're veterans. They've been through the storm.
Right.
But I don't know if I want to keep doing that every year.
Right.
I
Yeah.
really don't. And it hurts like players like Cedric Bailey. Because we're bringing in somebody else every year above him, even though he could be a good player, but he hasn't been on the field enough to know if we can do the job or not. So
Sure.
it's like it's a give and a take, man. And I don't know. I don't know. I'm iffy about that. I'm iffy about it. I like the way it happened for us this year, for sure.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
sure. But
Well, yeah.
like I don't know. I'm iffy about it. Because it hurts the high school kids, man. It really does. It really does. So
Yep.
Yeah, it
Well,
definitely worked
go
out
ahead.
for us last year. Again, Grayson was a 3-time conference player of the year. He's a North Carolina native, brings a bunch of accolades and also a sense of leadership to state. But you were talking about these young wide receivers and hoping that people stay and wait it out and wait their turn and continue to develop at state. What do you think the turnover in quarterbacks year to year is doing to those guys?
see, and that's a big thing too. Good thing we have Cedric Bailey, and I think we got Lex Thomas. Listen, don't sleep on Lex Thomas. Don't sleep on
You
him.
think
He
so?
throws a great ball. And he's been in the system. So and you never know, we might need him too. But long as those young guys
Knock
stick
on wood
around with
here.
Lex and Cedric, they'll be fine. Just stick around, develop that camaraderie with the guys, throwing after practice. And I think those young guys will stick around. If we have a big year and we win the ACC championship, that's going to be huge for those guys because that's just going to boost their morale even more. And
Yeah.
so I just think if they stick around and they just build together and see what we're building, and once we win this first ACC championship, they'll see that the sky's the limit. So it's
Yeah.
coming. It's coming. And listen, I read an article the other day. I forgot what website it was on. It was like the top 10 early predictions about schools that can overcome the hump, and
Yeah.
they said NC State we're gonna win our first ACC championship this year. And it was just the predictions and everything, but it was like finally we get over the hump. We had the big transfer portal recruits. We had the big freshman class. So they said finally, and I was like, it had a big smile on my face, man, because I
Yeah.
really truly believe that it can happen. It really can happen.
Yeah.
Going to
No.
Tennessee is going to be tough. If we can beat Tennessee in Knoxville, Tennessee,
Well, it's not in Knoxville. It's in
It's in
Charlotte.
Charlotte,
Charlotte.
North
neutral.
Carolina, so it's neutral
neutral.
site.
Better. That's even better. That's even better.
Yeah.
Because we get a little home field advantage. But if we can still beat Tennessee, which is a big conference game, man, SEC chance to beat a team like that, man,
Yeah.
the sky's the limit, man, for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know we've talked about that on the podcast about how do you go from, thinking your team had a great season and did great for who they are to being one of these football dynasty schools, one of these big schools that you expect to thrive in football every year, that have a lot of, market value. A lot of them are SEC schools, and I think beating Tennessee would be a big step in that, especially because it is a neutral ground, but it is
Yeah.
in North Carolina. I think it'll pull together a big crowd, and kind of show people what NC State football is really about, especially as we're coming off such a great transfer and freshman class coming in.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think this is our chance. This is our chance. I think this is our moment. This is our moment.
Yep.
This is our big moment. Because we get Tennessee, man. How often will we get these big schools like that,
Right.
on our
Yeah.
own stumping ground in our own state, So
It's
we
true.
have to take advantage of this stuff. We have to.
Agreed. Yeah. No. Again, I mean the schedule's, one of the easiest in the country,
Yeah.
overall, and I mean, because even a game like Tennessee is a game that you can lose, and I mean if you have a great ACC year, and
Mhm.
if you can go 10-2, 11-1, you're right there in the college football playoff conversation now with it expanding to 12 teams. So, and if you win the ACC, you're guaranteed in. So,
That's
I
not a
mean,
guarantee.
is it not?
Well,
I thought
now it is because of 12 teams.
now it
But
is.
we see what happened to Florida State last year.
Well, but now it's a 5-7.
Yeah, exactly.
So now the Power 5 champions are guaranteed. So that's a news change today. As
I
of today.
seen that. I seen. We
So-
better get
so.
in if we win the ACC championship.
Well, now you are, yeah. So,
Dude.
but
How do you
but-
feel about? Oh, sorry, Leighton. How do
No,
you
how do you
feel
feel?
about that expansion? About the chance to go from 4 teams to 12 in terms of expanding what NC State football is and what it can be.
I love it. I love it because you never know like what can happen. You never know if we're in second place in ACC and we're 11-2 or 10-2, and we get that actual 12th spot,
Right.
because we beat teams along the way that were ranked or whatever, whatever the case may be. We laid an egg somewhere, but we beat Tennessee, we beat Clemson, but something happened along the way. So we need that. But I agree with it. I absolutely love it, man. Especially the 4 teams is too. It was the same teams every time.
Yeah.
Same teams. It got kind of boring, and so. And I don't like
Yep.
complacent. Like Chuck Amato told me, don't never get complacent. And I got complacent with it. So, but
Yeah.
I really think we can get in that 12 if we just gotta just right the ship, listen to Dorn, listen to assistant coaches, do the right thing, listen to your teachers, go to class.
right.
No one's out past 12 o'clock. All the little things like that, then we'll be successful.
That's right. That's right. So with that being said, Wolfpack Nation, we're going to take a pause right there as we'll pick up in part 2, specifically talking about one guy in Kevin Concepcion that I think that every State fan is screaming through the phone saying, talk about KC. And so we'll definitely talk a lot about him in part 2. So to make sure you do not miss out on that, make sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. If you enjoyed this conversation, hit that like button. Make sure to give us a follow on all of our social media, on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Tuffy Talk Now. And make sure to give our guy Rich Washington as well a follow on Twitter at rwashingtonnCST. Make sure to go give him a follow there. But with that being said, Wolfpack Nation, we'll see y'all for part 2. Go Pack, y'all.